Welcome to Equipped in Grace, where we talk about following Jesus in the chaos of real life. I'm Vinny Pizarski, and if you've ever wondered how to bring your Sunday faith into your Monday meetings, your parenting, your relationships, or just your everyday mess, then this podcast is for you. So let's get outside of the church pew and get equipped for discipleship in the wild world in which we live. Last week, we started a conversation with Kelsey Luckasevic, who's been sharing her experience with and insights from the book The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. We last talked about seeking God for the sake of seeking Him and not just for what we want. But Kelsey, I also wanted to jump back and touch on something that you mentioned, that it's the way of the Bible, that things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. God is for you, Jeremiah 29:11, right? All things.
Wall, yeah.
Oh, is it really? Oh my gosh, look at that. My favorite coffee cup verse. For I know the plans I have for you to give you a hope and a future. Mm-hmm. It's that idea that, I'm glad that you pointed that out, because it's a very important idea that when stuff is happening to us, it's easy to fall into that victim mindset. And this is not necessarily pertaining to the book, but I still want to call it out that it is happening for us. God is working something out. I was watching a podcast with Tim Allen, of all people, who is a man of faith.
Nice. Yes. Yeah.
And his dad died when he was 11. A very hard thing. Took him a long time to get any kind of perspective on that, which is understandable. But he likened it to sometimes hard stuff happens. Sometimes things happen that hurt us, that are painful to go through. But it's like a sharpening of a knife. He's also, amongst being an avid car guy, he loves apparently sharpening knives. And now I'm interested from the way he talked about it. But he said you have to hurt the knife to sharpen the knife. You have to, it's metal. You have to dent it in a particular way to make it sharp. You have to shave away parts of it. And when we're going through hard things, it's not always apparent why this is happening.
Right. Why
is this being taken away from me? But from God's perspective, it's a honing, it's a sharpening of it. And that, tying back into ruthlessly eliminating hurry, it takes time. If we look at the way the world works, trees don't grow in a day. They have to grow their roots down a bit before they can start growing up. And I think that's where our church is at in a lot of ways. We want to grow up. We want to see productivity. We want to see the fruit. We want to see things happening. But just like a tree, or even to use a modern example, skyscrapers work the same way. You have to dig down before you can go up. If the foundations aren't strong, then the tree will topple. So, yeah, and we approach life with an instant coffee.
Yes.
And we want to approach faith with this instant coffee method, but like coffee has to steep, tea has to steep. It has to soak for it to just, to disperse for the good. Like you said, you can have several conversations with God, several alone times, and nothing major might happen. But it's because of the discipline of doing that, steeping in God's presence, that the revelations come, having that time for things to unwind, for the dust to settle. It's like if you're trying to look through a dirty glass of water, but you keep shaking it.
Right.
You have to let the dust settle to the bottom.
Right, yeah.
And so that sounds like what you're describing is just taking these times, the discipline of doing this, so that the dust can settle.
Yes.
And so that God can speak into it. I always remember, I forget which prophet it is, but he's up on a mountain and seeking God's presence, and an earthquake happens, but God was not in the earthquake. And a storm happens, but God was not in the storm. And then a whisper happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes God does show up in big demonstrative ways in the Bible. But I think for a lot of us on the day-to-day, it is the still small whisper, and we have to be still enough to hear it. So it sounds like that's kind of what this book is driving at, eliminating the mental hurry, maybe even eliminating hurry in our lives. I remember on our conversation a few weeks ago that you talked about like chores, just doing, why are you trying to go so fast doing this chore? But that lends itself to that, like, I'm going to do this as fast as I can, and I'm going to spend time with God as fast as I can.
Yeah.
But
it's a checklist.
Yeah, it's a checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not going to, just think of anybody, if you had a friendship with them and they were just like, became a checklist, they wouldn't want to spend time with you.
If they literally in front of you, I hung out with this person, check. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's very true. Cause so to give a brief background. So I have something called hypermobility. I know your wife has it as well. And it is, I won't go super far into it, but it's a connective tissue disorder. So what happens with that is, where a normal person's body has their tendons and their ligaments that help support them. Tendons and ligaments are made of connective tissue. And collagen, but in hypermobility, your connective tissue is not arranged in the same way as a normal person. That's where the genetic mishap happens. And so instead of your tendons and ligaments, which are supposed to support you, do not, your body then relies on your muscles to support you. And so it takes away, and it gives more impact to your joints because there's not enough stability in your joints because the connective tissue is not as strong as it needs to be. It's kind of like if you were to pull on a sweater, like taut on a sweater, a very fresh sweater, and you just kind of give it a tug. Okay, all the threads in there, they kind of stop. There's a give point. Right. And then if you take a sweater that's worn, pulled through, a snagged, whatever, and then you kind of give it that pull, and you can even see just like a very droopy sweater. Yeah. The connective tissue of hypermobility people is kind of like that droopy sweater. Where you give a little bit more. So with hypermobility, one of the most important aspects is you have to build your stabilizing muscles. And so this is something I nerd out with, by the way. So sorry. I love biomechanics, but
anatomy with Kelsey.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. This is actually the lesson for today. But with that, you have to build these stabilizing muscles. And part of hypermobility is you have nervous system dysfunction, which means your nervous system is trying to keep you alive. It's trying to recruit muscles to keep you upright. This is in muscular sense. This is how your nervous system works. But when you're standing, it's trying to recruit the muscles to keep you upright as easily as it can, because your body is trying to prevent you from falling over. When you are hypermobile and that doesn't happen and you have this nervous system dysregulation, it tries to act in a hurry because it's trying to make sure you still stay standing, but it cannot connect with your deep stabilizing muscles. And so it recruits the easier muscles, your larger muscles. So what happens is those larger muscles get overworked and overused. And so at that point, you start getting a lot of people with hypermobility have constant tension in their body because these deep stabilizing muscles don't know how to turn on. And so what's being relied upon are these muscles that just never turn off. So they're overworked and they're tired and they are just filled with this tension. And so to me, it's just fascinating. But one of the things with building your stabilizing muscles is the moves for these, when it comes to like a workout perspective, they're not fancy. They're actually quite mundane and they're simple, but you have to really focus on getting that mind to muscle connection and really engage the right muscles. Make sure everything else turns off and you engage those stabilizing muscles because that is your foundation. And so that's what's going to prevent these other muscles from having to be overworked and overtired all the time. And it just gives you oh my gosh, it gives you such a release when you can get these muscles to be in that position. But it's not anything that some influencer is going to post about on social media. Like, look at my workout today. Look how subtle this move is. No, it's not fancy. It's not glamorous, but it's so crazy to me how many things about the body just tie so much back to God. Like this is where I just nerd out with it. And so, but it's so true of like, when you don't have that foundation, that deep connection with God, and you're trying to get those quick fixes, you have this nervous system dysregulation that's trying to say, I want this fix of God. Okay. Cause it's going to keep me standing. I need to get this fix of God. But you're living off of all these other people's shared experiences with God and not your own, because that's not your foundation. You are never building that deep stabilizing control of your body to keep you standing when things go rough. So if you're always living off of other people's experiences and you're getting those quick fixes, you're using those easy muscles because they're easy to turn on. It's easy to listen to a podcast. It's easy to listen to a sermon, to worship music. And these are all really good things, but they are not giving you that time and that space to intentionally connect with God. And that's where the foundation builds. And so it's kind of like me learning so much more about my hypermobility in the last year, and through all this with my hip and just all these other things that I've had to go through, is just, oh my gosh, like your body just needs this foundational support to just be calm and to relax. And one of my favorite things too, and John Mark talks about breathing in this book. And one of the biggest ways that, yoga teaches it, but a lot of what biomechanics is and what I love to learn about is about breath work, and how one of the ways that your nervous system gets stuck in dysregulation is when you're not breathing properly. And so, when you practice intentional breathing, it is what is the key to controlling your anxiety. So you hear a lot of time when you're anxious, what do people tell you to do? They guide you through this breathing.
Yeah.
And I think what so many times people don't capitalize on is I'm like, God breathed life into us. It is his breath that we breathe. And the fact that breath is what calms us and taking these very intentional, deep breaths that just fill us, like that, to me, that is so like, how do you not see the parallels of like, that is breathing in God, that is bringing that calmness to you. And that's what recenters you. And that is what is a huge, when I follow a ton of people that are hypermobility related, like, you know, when you have a condition like that, you go hardcore and get all the references and stuff. But so much of it is breathing and getting your nervous system back into a place where it can regulate itself and is calm, because you are living in this state of fight or flight all the time because your nervous system can't regulate. But when you can kind of get it and train it and get it to practice these just daily things, breathwork is not fancy at all, but is so vital to keeping you calm and keeping your mind centered and just allowing yourself to come back to center. And it just, the day I realized that, I was like, that is so cool, you guys. Like, we are breathing in God. And I think that is just one of the most beautiful things just to realize and practice. But yes, sometimes that foundational work of getting to know God is not those crazy shout from the rooftop moments. It's a very personal, intimate, almost sometimes what seems like a moment in passing. And then you look back on it and like, oh my gosh, that was such a God moment. And those things are just, you know, they're so personal and so relational. I love that.
I think that's what is so important when talking to other people about faith is it's like, how do I describe this? I feel like it's something where the sign of a healthy relationship with God would almost be hard to describe to somebody else. Like if somebody asked you to describe your faith with God, it'd be like, it would be tough because it's so personal. And we should have a way to, you know, explain the hope that we have, obviously, a way to talk about the gospel. But there should be a side of our relationship with God. If all we can say is this is why you should know Jesus, but we can't speak of how we know Jesus, then we just have a head knowledge and you don't have a relationship. And that's the key. So there's parts, we all have the Romans road or any number of ways we can talk about the gospel with other people.
Right.
But what's the part that's our story? Where have we walked with God? We taken that time? Where have we slowed down enough to be present with him? Were there any, because I imagine there had to probably be some practical things in the book.
Yes.
To talk about how to do that in your daily life. Because I would imagine, I know you mentioned chores at some point, but I imagine even just like, I would think taking time at dinner to disconnect and have family time would be another way to like build it into your life so that it becoms natural. Were there anything like that coming out of the book?
So the third section of the book is about his 4 practices that are unhurrying your life. So there's silence and solitude, Sabbath, simplicity, and why I'm just blanking on the third one, slowing. So obviously that's, you know, very much the unhurry. So in it, and depending on the chapter, it kind of talks through different ways that those can be executed, because each of those looks a little different. I mean, they all play into each other, but so those are kind of his 4 main principles though. And there are practical ways of phone usage. That's obviously a huge one. I personally, as you know, it's very anti my age as well. I hate being on my phone. I know that's not everyone's experience. So that for me is a little bit easier just to disregard it. But it's things like, don't look at your notifications on your phone until you've spent your time with God in the morning. And so I turn mine on Do Not Disturb every night. So I will not turn it back on until I've had my God time. I've done my Bible reading. I've had my silence. I've had my stillness. And then we are ready to get on with the day. And 99% of the time, I didn't miss anything anyway. But it's just that thought of like, why do we need to start our day with everything we missed overnight? You know, it's like, why don't we just start our day to start our day and let that fuel us? So that's a big one. He has little things too. I mean, one of my favorites was stopping for a full 3 seconds at a stop sign, which is what you're taught in driver's ed, at least if you had a good teacher. But just those little moments throughout your day where it seems silly just to be like, okay, just stop 1, 2, 3, and then go. Yeah. And so, and I know when you and I talked about the last time, it had just happened to me where I did this practice where I stopped at a stop sign, gave it a full stop, a full 3 seconds, and the car behind me honked. And I was like, hurry. Okay. And the best part was there was a stop light at the next street up, and it was red, and he got stopped there regardless. But it's those things where you're like, oh my gosh, people, that's 3 seconds.
Why
it's
are
just
we in
crazy.
Such a rush?
Yeah. So he kind of gives those little kind of small ways of doing it. And practicing a Sabbath is huge, like truly taking a whole day to not give yourself something to do. Just let it be. And that looks very different for a lot of people.
Sure.
But even just having much more intentionality behind a Sabbath day and behind what that looks like for your life, and making it practical. He says, don't spend money on that day, or don't, certain things that he gives a whole list of things. I mean, there's like 20 different things, but anyway, so he does have some kind of those practical ways of doing it. Obviously you're not going to go and do all of them all at once, but the more you kind of start initiating these little steps, I think the easier it becomes, because again, it's not a complete 180. You're not like, I'm going to unhurry tomorrow. And it doesn't typically happen like that. Sometimes, yes, but a lot of the time it's a practice. And so like anything that you learn, a learned skill, it takes practice. It takes the steps to go through the parts where you fail, and it takes the steps to go through getting back on track and continuing, and it's never perfect. And he calls out that he still falls into hurry,
Oh,
of
absolutely.
course it happens. It's not like we can avoid this in this world that we live as humans. We're going to still feel hurried. And there is good hurry too, of course, when there are emergencies and things like that. Obviously, there's a time to react and respond. But just as far as like daily living, just slowing to be in the present. He talks about that a lot as well, of just a huge thing we miss because we don't want boredom, because we don't want to just be in that moment, is we're missing that moment. And so not living in those moments is ignoring the present and not being present. And so
we're fixing the next thing.
Exactly.
We're already into the future. I think about that every time I sit down with my son to put him to bed at night, and he's just drinking his bottle, and we're just sitting there, and I'm just going, what am I going to think about? And I've been trying to fight lately, because I've noticed like I'm trying to fix the next day's problems while I'm sitting there and not appreciating just being there.
Just being there.
Like, I don't have to fix it right now. And I have not yet come up with any rocking chair revelations.
Just got to keep at it though. Keep rocking.
Well, not like in a way that like if I'm sitting there trying to fix problems for tomorrow, I have not fixed any of them yet. Sitting in that rocking chair. I wonder what would happen if I directed my thoughts differently, or if I slowed in that moment and just appreciated what was happening. I'll have to give that a spin, because sitting there worrying about what I'm going to do at work the next day, generally it doesn't help anything.
Right.
Work is still there the next day, and the problems are also, we deal with them when we get there.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my things, and so I was reading this, the new Romans commentary I'm within. It had a thing that I was reading yesterday morning, which I loved and was so obviously appropriate for the time. But it says that the 20th century Archbishop of Canterbury, William Temple, once said, "Your religion is what you do with your solitude." And then the author of this explains it. He says, in other words, wherever your mind goes most naturally and freely when there is nothing else to distract it, that is what you really live for. That is your religion. Your life is shaped by whatever preoccupies your mind. The overcoming of sin in our lives begins in our minds, and victory over sin is only ever the result of having minds set on the Spirit. And so I read that, but I love the statement of that your religion is what you do with your solitude, because it's very true. What are you giving your attention to, and how, because that is what shapes how you become. And so and that's a huge part of the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry as well, is like if you're always on your phone or being distracted or doing the next thing. I mean, he talks a lot about the harm of technology, especially, but I think that's the biggest one. But we are living in this world that's trying to distract us constantly, trying to get us.
Yeah, the programs. It's something important to note.
Mm-hmm.
The social media platforms, all of them, are designed to keep you distracted and keep you there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a modern version of casinos don't have clocks in them.
Exactly, yeah.
Because they don't want you to know how much time you've spent in the casino. They want you to get lost in the casino.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is that on steroids on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed to be addictive. It's designed to keep you there. It's a little bit of a tangent, but like...
No, but he talks about, John Mark references that he talks about how some of the big tech guys from Silicon Valley and things like that spend buttloads of money sending their kids to device-free schools, these private schools. And they have other guys that have left this business because they see how toxic it is. Mm-hmm. And so when you're immersed in it all the time and you see what is behind that curtain and you see Oz for who Oz is, you know, and you see that, oh my gosh, this thing is trying to control us.
Yeah.
And it has no worth in controlling us. And these people who are spending their days within it, when they recognize that and are trying to prevent that from harming their kids and from letting affect their life more. I mean, I think, I can't remember the phrase. It's something like, I know Big E said it, or whatever the rapper's name is. I'm not a rapper person, but don't smoke your own medicine or something like that, or don't smoke your own supply. There's something like that where it's like,
what a reference.
Like not a horrible reference for this, but just saying like they are trying to not immerse themselves in all this technology because they know the fact that they're playing off of human psychology and manipulating it.
Right.
And so they're like, I don't want to be part of this manipulation. And so because they know that, because they have that experience.
So the phrase is referencing like a drug dealer recognizing the effects of his drugs.
Yes.
And thus he doesn't smoke it.
Exactly.
Because he knows it's bad.
Yeah. He's staying clean, but he's giving it to everyone else.
Giving it to everybody else because that's his income.
Right.
Oh my gosh. That's basically, that does explain a lot of this. Mm-hmm. It's true. That's what social media is designed to do. It's designed to be addictive like a drug.
Right.
Wow. All right. Well, we could do this for forever. We've unpacked quite a bit of the book, and I appreciate your time
absolutely.
And insight. Certainly plenty for us to chew on over the next few days. I want to encourage you listeners. I've actually picked up a copy of this book. I've only read through the first chapter, and it already hit me like a ton of bricks in a good way.
Absolutely.
It's not a discouragement.
A great ton of bricks.
It's like a eye-opening and I'm glad for it. Mm-hmm. So if you aren't familiar with this book, pick it up, read it. It does read naturally and pretty easily. He's telling us, he's not just giving you information, he's telling you a story.
Yes.
And he's very good at engaging you in it. So pick up the book or pick up the audiobook, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing so I can listen to it in the car. Not to be that I'm in a hurry, but I'm not good at reading at night whenever my son eventually falls asleep. So thank you so much, Kelsey, for being on the show again and for unpacking this with us and sharing your insights. And thank you, listeners, for being with us. We hope that our conversation has blessed you and has given you insight into your walk of faith and to our world of hurry, and that you'll have some takeaways to apply, maybe just stopping at a stoplight or a stop sign for 3 seconds.
Hopefully a stoplight.
Right. Yeah, definitely stop. Definitely stop at the stoplight all the way. Stop sign for 3 seconds. And gosh, I can speak to the breathing. If I do like a deep breathing, what is it? I breathe in as deep a breath as I can, and then hold it for 2 seconds, breathe again, hold it for 2 seconds, breathe in again. So I'm like diaphragm all the way full, and then just let it out as slow as I can. I used to do that on the way to work as a vocal exercise, expanding your lung capacity. I also noticed how much calmer I was when I got to work. How less bothered by the traffic I was.
Right.
So just keep those things in mind, dear listeners. Apply some stuff. Get alone with God. I've been trying to do that, even just reading a couple verses in the morning and spending some time with God. So with all that being said, we thank you so much for listening. Our next episode, as a reminder, we are going every other week. So our next episode will be November 13th at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. To be notified of our latest episodes, we do recommend following or subscribing to this show on the podcast app of your choice. Until then, may the Lord bless you and keep you. Bye-bye.